All opinions are those of the participants making them and are not an endorsement of any position, program, religion, or political affiliation. DFG's Corner is for information, observations, and entertainment. I ask that you like, share, comment, and subscribe.
Care of my mom and dad. They were both doing pretty bad before I left. And they weren't. My mom and dad weren't doing really bad when I left. My dad was doing worse, but so we kind of were always there, because they still lived in the house. So we were me, my sister, somebody was at the house. It's, most of us were in town, and then so yeah, I think it's just we did what we needed to do, to take care of our parents. Then I left out of town. My brother left out of town. My sister, she was pretty much done. Had another brother there. He had a couple strokes, so he really couldn't do much. But my sister pretty much took care of my parents, most of the time. She was there pretty much day and night all the time. So
Did she ever get
um,
resentful?
no, she didn't. I believe she didn't. And then we talked. They tried to talk about me coming back to Washington. And I was like, no, no, thank you. But she took care of him until my mom passed or my dad passed, and then I went back to the funeral. And then 2 months later, mom passed. So, it was hard. She took it a little hard, probably because she was there taking care of him, probably a little bit harder than the rest of us. But
Definitely.
we all did what we could to make it happen.
That's understandable. Miss Summer?
I was just thinking that I was watching this episode of Inside the NFL, and I can't remember which team they were covering, but they had a bunch of these rookies and these young men in there, and they were being trained on like how to manage their money, and that you're going to have family members that you haven't seen in years come from the shadows, and you're going to have people that want to be your friend. You don't know what their true intentions are and all of this stuff. So they advise these young men to have kind of like advisors, if you will, or financial advisors, so that they won't fall prey to people trying to come up on their dime. And I just found that interesting. I just, some people, we don't all get that sometimes, I don't think, but I just thought that that was interesting on that episode of Inside the NFL.
No, and that happens because they always want to. Most athletes they don't want to see their parents living in poverty. So a lot of them grind and hustle and do their thing so I can get. They say their thing is so I can get my mama a house. And here's the rub. It's not the fact that they want
A
to do
house,
it.
not a mansion. A
Yeah,
house consists of two bedrooms, two bathrooms, and a kitchen and a basement. That don't
that-
mean 5 bedrooms that you can't afford to furnish or afford the mortgage for. So that's where they go wrong. You go modest. A lot of the times, people, especially older people, don't want the big old property because we don't want to clean it.
yep. And one of Chocolate Pearl's classmates wind up playing in the NBA. He lived in a town called Hopkins, South Carolina, and he was building his mother a mansion. He got kicked out the league for drugs, and that man it's probably still not. Is that mansion still standing? Chocolate Pearl, Stanley Roberts, or that shell of a
Yeah,
mansion?
yeah, he's still. I think he's. Is he? I know he's not back in South Carolina though. But yeah, I'm actually still Facebook friends with him. Yeah, but he's still standing.
Yeah, he was building like a 15 because he wanted to put his whole family up in there, and he ran out of money. If he had just got them a house, she'd have been all. I think she'd have been all right, and I think that's what she was cool. But he wanted to do so much, he overpromised and underdelivered, and yeah, I want to put my kids in a house. I want to make sure that they straight, but I can't break me doing it. And if my parents were still alive, I probably get them something like a condo or something where because your mother wasn't going to go out there and cut no grass.
Yeah, no, can I say something? I had this conversation with my boys, because I was really upset only one person won that. I was like, for months, I was upset only one person won that $1 billion. And I was like, it's not fair to the world. But I we had a conversation and it was like, if I won a substantial amount of money, what would the first thing you do? What would you ask me for? My oldest, being, a 20-something-year-old, and he's ready to party and live life. He's like, I want a Lambo truck. And I was like, that's a death machine. Why would I put you into a death machine? You could get you a mid-size Lexus, or, something that you could actually learn how to drive properly and be more responsible for. I wouldn't give you a super duper sports car. And I was like, that's just not, I was like, so you want me to be broke within 5 years, And then my youngest son, he was like, I just need a 2-bedroom house on 10 acres of land. I was like, that's more like it. Okay. Like, I was like, at least he's thinking,
What, was he going to open a homeless encampment on those 10 acres? It's not like he can
probably knowing
farm.
him, knowing one of mine. We like to take care of people, but probably, but me myself, I've been telling y'all this for years. I wanted to do one of those like Bootsy did, do a big piece of land and start putting homes for my family on it. We ain't gotta live in the same compound. We could have separate homes
Same thing.
just on the same
Golden
on the
Lane. That's what it's going to
yes,
be. Golden Lane.
yes, yes. Like, come on. I was like, everybody have streets. We'll have paved roads to each other's houses. Nobody backyard connected. And if you don't want to see me, you ain't gotta see me. Like, but we're still family. And when like once a week, Sunday, we could have a in the main house, have a big family dinner. That's all I was asking. But people are like, I don't want to live with y'all. I don't want to do
Hey,
this.
and have white people serving us, right?
No, I don't know. I don't care what color you are. I'm in
That's
service,
the
so
thing.
that's
No.
never.
Mm-mm.
And then I don't know if they don't like using soap, so I don't know, or rags, so I don't know. I couldn't do that. I need excuse me if this might sound racist, but I need me a nice Asian or a Hispanic person, or a good old Caribbean person that actually, old school Jamaican lady that's going to clean my house, and I'm gonna come in and I'm gonna smell bleach and nothing but bleach. But that was the goal, because I watched way too much TV and seeing all these people being killed by so-called investors and family members over a lottery ticket that y'all don't know. Half them, once they got that lottery ticket, they was like, if I die, something happened to me, it's going to charity. None of y'all will get it.
Yeah, that's a Miss Summer, you had your hand up. Oh, she put it
No, I was just you were talking about excuse me, y'all were talking about sorry, serving, getting served and stuff like that. I just wanted to throw in, what did you guys think? And I'm off the topic, but I'm gonna try to bring it back. But what did y'all think about that plantation uh on fire? The building.
well,
I'm sorry.
our ancestors, I think our ancestors were pleased. It makes you think, hey, say as long as you don't do us right, ain't nothing good happening to it. I Look, property is property, but the way they cleaned it up and didn't want to talk about what actually happened there is a shame, and that's all I'll leave it at. But
What's the name of this
Nottaway
plantation? So when we get
Plantation,
off here, not away.
Nottaway, Nott
Okay.
away.
Okay, I'm gonna look it up on YouTube once we get off of the show, so I could understand, because
Yeah,
I'm like, what
and,
plantation
and
where?
it was the big house was completely burnt. It wasn't burned. It was burnt. It was burnt. It was burnt to the ground.
If you see the memes that's going on about that thing, it's just crazy.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. But here was my, and that goes into the question. I'm glad you said that, Bean. That's a good topic. if you won the lottery, how would you split it with your family? I'm going to go first. I would, here's what I do. First, I wouldn't tell nobody, but you would know. And I say, everybody, give me a copy of your bills. And for 1 year, I'd pay everybody's bills. That way, you ain't got no excuse. Thanks for watching. This is the man with the golden voice, the lady's choice, and of course, smooth as a Rolls Royce, saying, never make love by the garden gate. Though love is blind, the neighbors ain't.